Hey all, TonyBing here. Hello and welcome back to another Envoy video for Marvel Strike Force. Now today we have footage and the full kit for 4 of the members that are coming as part of the Fantastic Four updates. We don't have anything for Invisible Woman just yet. With this kit, as always, could be subject to change number wise, but the characters we've got, it's Human Torch, NAMOR, The Thing, and also Mr. Fantastic. We can actually see their traits and their stats as well. So we'll jump in and we'll have a look. The first character we'll check out will be the Human Torch. So we can see his model and his traits here. So traits are Hero, Cosmic, Bio, Blaster, Fantastic Four, and then Marvel 80 if that's coming as part of an update where various characters will have that tag. And here we go for the stats. Damage looks to be on the higher side. Focus and resistance actually look pretty decent there. Speed is 127, which is exceptionally fast. And then the rest of the stats from here onwards are just your standard stats for characters really. So that is his stats. Let's check out his kit now. In previous videos then we have had a look at the passive for these characters, but we've now got the full kit. So we start off with the basic for Human Torch. So you attack primary target for 210% damage and you apply bleed. So a bit like Pyro, there's no burn there, it's been replaced with bleeds instead, and that is for 2 turns. His special, you gain +2 offense up to a maximum of 5, so it's interesting it can go as high as that, and you apply +1 offense up to a maximum of 3 to all Fantastic Four and the NAMOR allies, so that's really pretty strong. And after you've applied the offense up, you then attack primary target for 350% damage, so that's going to do a heap of damage, that with his high damage stat as well. For the ultimate, we attack all enemies for 400% damage, and you'll most likely use the special first, so you'll have a fence up for this, and you apply a fence down to all enemies. The attack is unavoidable and cannot be countered as well. Finally, we have the passive, and as mentioned, I've covered it before, but with the passive, on turn you flip 2 negative effects on self to positive effects. You gain plus 30% damage, so that's really going to work nice with the offense up that he's gaining, and Fantastic Four and the NAMOR allies gain plus 30% damage as well, and then he gains 10,000% resistance against bleed. I think bleeds and burns are looked to be the same thing, so it makes sense that you can't essentially burn. It would be very strange if Pyro was able to add a bunch of dots to someone that's already on fire there. But that's the Human Torch. The next character we look at will be one that I figured would be the Protector, but it turns out they're actually going to be a Brawler, and it is The Thing. Stat wise, his health is on the higher side, damage looks to be decent, armour's very nice as well, his resistance looks to be really high there, so it'll be hard to apply debuffs. Speed is definitely on the slower side, he's way down at 86 there. And then again, the rest of the stats here are just as you would expect. Now in a moment, when we see the traits, you've got Hero, Cosmic, Bio, Brawler, Fantastic Four and Marvel 80th. And also, he's got a skill that says it's clobbering time, so all is now well in the world that he's got that skill. Kit wise, without a doubt, he's got the simplest kit out of the new characters coming. His basic, you attack primary target for 350% damage. With the special, you attack primary target for 280% damage and you bonus attack 2 times for 220% damage. Now that's nice because if the enemy has Deflect up in war, the first attack will consume that, then their attacks will get the full damage, or if a target, let's say, has Evade, the first one again will miss but the subsequent attacks will hit there. So that's the reason it's not just baked into one actual hit with a high multiplier. For the ultimate, this one attacks primary target for 550% damage, no unavoidable or anything there, so needs to watch out for blind, although he does have that high resistance that could maybe counter that. His passive, which we've seen before, when attacked, you attack that enemy for 150% damage, so it looks like he essentially has a counter attack of sorts up on him all the time, and there's no way for it to be debuffed or cleansed, so that is nice and should do decent damage with that, especially against characters that cast AoE, so they've got no choice but to take an attack from them. Also with his kit, he gains 20% armour, and Fantastic Four and the NAMOR allies gain 20% armour as well there. So that's the thing, pretty simple kit. Next character has a lot more going on, and it is Mr. Fantastic. For the traits then we have Hero, Cosmic, Bio, Controller, Fantastic Four and Marvel 80th as well there. So Mr. Fantastic is your controller class. Health looks decent actually, damage on the lower side, armour is decent, focus looks to be really high, so you'll have a high chance to apply any debuffs or any cleanse if he's doing that. Speed does come in at 102, which is very much middle of the road. But that's all his stats, let's now have a look at his abilities. As you can see then, a fair bit going on with this kit. So attack primary target for 230% damage, that's on the basic of course, and you chain to 3 adjacent targets for 190% damage, and counter attack breaks the chains. That looks to be pretty strong for a basic attack, hitting up to 4 targets. You then have the special, this one here, you attack primary target for 400% damage and you apply stun to them. For the ultimate, you'll clear defense up from primary target and then you'll attack primary target for 450% damage and you gain 100,000 extra focus for this attack. So this one will relate to war. When you go into a room that's actually buffed with the defense up, you can actually clear it off a character first and then do that damage on them. With the passive we have a ton going on here. Firstly, he boosts 20% resistance and focus for himself and also 2 Fantastic Four and NAMOR allies as well. You then have the fact that on self and each Fantastic Four ally's turn he has a 100% chance to apply Assist Now to self, NAMOR and a random Fantastic Four ally, so it's a bit like Miss Marvel in that regard. And if Assist Now is applied, you clear blind on that target, and on turn you choose 3 random enemies. If they have a positive effect, then you remove 1. So Mr. Fantastic does look to be really strong, probably the strongest one we've looked at so far, but when we check out NAMOR in a second, you see that his kit looks to be exceptionally strong as well. And of course we are missing Invisible Woman, but as soon as we get details on that we will let you know. But let's jump in now and have a look at the final character, and as mentioned, it is NAMOR. Trait wise for NAMOR, it's Villain, Global, Mutant, Brawler and Marvel 80th. Very interesting, I didn't realise it would fall under the Villain or Mutant tag, but to be honest I don't really have a great deal of experience with NAMOR. Now health looks to be really high, damage on the lower side, armour's low, focus and resistance are mid-range, and the speed is fairly decent there, coming in at 113. So let's now check out his abilities. Like Mr. Fantastic, who we looked at a moment ago, there's actually quite a lot going on in the kit here now. The basic we start off with, you attack primary target for 210% damage and it does plus 50 piercing. You then have the special, this one looks to be really pretty strong, so you attack primary target for 350% damage, attack adjacent targets for 340% damage on target block, so this will apply to war. If the enemy team actually buffs their room, then they'll have deflect and that's classed as a block. So when they have block and you go in and you use this, you'll bonus attack 2 times for 100% piercing to primary and adjacent targets. So that's really going to help you out in the rooms where putting the buffs up, and in some instances you may have to be careful about putting buffs up if you know the enemy team have got a Fantastic Four setup, because it will just completely smash through it. Now when we look at the ultimate next, you attack all enemies for 300% damage. On war offense, this attack always crits, so that's going to hit really hard there. You clear all positive effects from each target, you change speed bar of all targets by a whopping 50%, and the attack is unavoidable and cannot be countered. So outside of war it's really lackluster, it's just a 300% damage, but in war it absolutely owns. But I don't like seeing actual skills like this at all with characters unneutered in other modes, so it's an awesome skill. The animation looks amazing as well, you've seen it a few times through the video where he summons some kind of big aquatic beast and fills the area with water, so it looks amazing. But I really don't like the fact that we have to use it in war offense. I don't want to be dictated in what modes I should be using characters and their skills in at all. But that's the ultimate. The final ability we have is a passive, so he gains 20% damage and 30% armour. Once again on war offense, on spawn he applies offense up for 2 turns to all Fantastic Four allies and self. That's just insane when you think of his special and his ultimate, that will get the benefit of that. And on spawn you apply deflect for 2 turns to all Fantastic Four allies or self. You gain an additional 30% damage, and Fantastic Four allies gain 30% damage as well there. So as mentioned, his kit is really interesting, but I'm not a fan of the parts of it that are exclusive to war offense only. So that's NAMOR, that's all the characters covered. Again, as mentioned, if we get any details on the Invisible Woman and we're allowed to release them, then I'll do that, especially in regards to her unlock requirements, because she will be a legendary character. So I'll make sure that everything's locked in with that before we actually come out with it. Don't want another Phoenix fiasco or anything like that. But I hope the video's been interesting enough. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the kit and the animations as well. And thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all again soon.